I'm James Clancy. I'm the president of the National Union of Public and General Employees, Canada.
Your union, National, has been involved in a member-to-member communications and outreach campaign. I wanted to start with this question first because many of the delegates I've talked to today have talked about the need to change public opinion and how to campaign. So in order to do that, and your union has a campaign of that nature. Tell me about it, please, James.
Yeah, our campaign called All Together Now was adopted unanimously by our convention delegates a year ago. The campaign is fighting for public services and also trying to get Canadians to recognize that we need tax fairness in this country, that it's long overdue. And one of the key hallmarks or features of the campaign is a recognition that unless we move our membership and their family, unless they share the analysis that we've done, then we're really dead in the water, that we really have to get our membership themselves to carry the campaign, to carry this fight. And so we've trained 100 champions to date. We call them Champions for Change. These are activists that we brought in, trained them, and they're going local by local, member to member, and have been doing so for almost a year now, talking to the members about the issues at hand. Why do we find ourselves in this situation?
And what are they finding out there? What are you seeing as a result?
Lots of enthusiasm. People understand when we talk about tax fairness, for example, that from 1945 to 1980, all boats were rising. The gap between those that at the top and those at the bottom was narrowing each and every year. And we introduced old age security, Canada Pension Plan, Medicare. There was a recognition that public services was the great equalizer. But since 1980, the gap between those that have and those that don't has grown each and every year. The income inequality has grown each and every year since 1980, and we haven't introduced one new national program across this country. So our members are starting to recognize and make that connection, that there's a connection between taxation, who's getting taxed, who's paying what, and our ability to fund quality public services. So that's an important step forward for us.
Public services is fighting for public services seems to be one of the most important issues out there at this point.
I think so, because I think the most fundamental issue facing not only simply Canadians but workers worldwide, this is not peculiar to Canada, is this income inequality that continues to grow each and every year. It doesn't matter what country you're looking at, this gap between those that have and those that don't continues to grow. And so I think this issue is probably the most serious issue facing women and men, regardless of where they live. For us in Canada, the fact that the right wing continues to want to denigrate and diminish the role that public services play, both in our economy and also giving people accessibility and opportunity, is something that we have to arrest. We have to stop that nonsense that they've been putting out. In order to do that, we have to mobilize our membership first. Without our membership, we can't win this fight. With our membership, all sorts of things are possible.
You've got a national union. You're represented in most provinces of Canada. Can you survey briefly what the fight looks like in some of the different provinces?
In BC, we've witnessed 10 years of retrenchment. So, that continues. So in terms of the contracts, we're looking at rollbacks and so on. But more importantly for our membership, let me continue on, Alberta, the same thing. I mean, it's really a variation on the same pattern, which is underfunding the services and increasingly over the last couple of years targeting the employees themselves, the public employees themselves, as if they were at fault for the shortfalls that the debt and the deficit as a result of the recession of 2 years ago. So that's being repeated as I go across Ontario, for example. We're in a heck of a fight with the government there. Again, they're trying to demonize the workers themselves. Nova Scotia, it's attempts to roll back contracts. And the same is true in New Brunswick, where we're in a heck of a fight. So they're all variations on the same theme, which is the governments are blaming public employees and suggesting that they're the reason for the debt and deficit. which is absolute nonsense. The reason for the debt and deficit was the horrific financial crisis that was, occurred 2 years ago, which was a result of greed, and indeed the lack of regulation, and various governments failing to enforce regulation on the financial communities, banks, and so on. So we recognize that we're not going to turn this around overnight, but where we've got to start is by getting our own members mobilized. Our own members have to share the analysis that our activists have been building and developing, and then they have to take the fight to these governments and take the fight, if you will, to the banks and the corporations. My argument is, and this CLC convention is critical, that we cannot wait and let them bring the fight to us. What we need to do is be proactive. We need to get out in front and anticipate where they're going to go and be there first and talk to Canadians about it, whether it's Medicare, whether it's an assault on pensions, whether it's an assault on public services, nursing home care, et cetera, et cetera. We have to take the fight out to them, not wait for them to bring it to us.
I realize that there's a resolution coming forward on the floor tomorrow. Is that a resolution to broaden basically NUPGE's campaign to include the whole labor movement?
Many elements, I'm quite pleased. I mean, here we are on the second day of the convention, and many elements of our campaign have been incorporated in various policy papers and composite or resolutions that are hitting the floor. There's a few more to follow up tomorrow. Today we had a key resolution on tax fairness, which was endorsed unanimously by the convention. So this augurs well. I mean, it complements what NUPGE has been trying to do, and means that our activists will be encouraged by the solidarity that was displayed here.
Tell me why tax fairness is such an important part of your campaign for public services.
Well, ultimately you've got to answer the question, how do you pay for the services? And what governments are saying is that there's no money in the kitty, there's no money in the till, we're carrying debts and deficits. And so then they're using that as an excuse to cut back or eliminate programs and services for Canadians. And so what we identified last year was the need for us to take this question squarely on. It's a simple question, which is, who pays what in terms of taxes? Now, our own studies and analysis and others show that increasingly what's happened is the very wealthy are paying less taxes. You know, the tax system is becoming less progressive. It's been turned really upside down over the last 20 or 30 years. This also coincides during a period when no new national programs were introduced. Again, the argument being we don't have the money. Well, unless we need to arrest that trend, we need to reverse that trend where those at the very top, corporations and individuals, if they continue to shirk their responsibilities in terms of the common good, you know, to common wealth being our taxation, going towards the common good, if they shirk their responsibilities, we're not going to be able to put these programs in place. So we have to attack the tax question.
Corporate tax giveaways were a big part of the federal election that we just had. How do you think that the question had a lot of resonance?
Well, I think that the question does have a lot of resonance. I think it was given short shrift in Harper's sort of peekaboo-style campaign where you couldn't ask him questions and so on. But I think that our meetings that we're having with members and others, if they're any indication, there's a real interest in pursuing this question of tax fairness. I mean, $1 spent on an early childhood education program returns money to the community. It provides employment, but it also returns money with the multiplier effect to the community. $1 given to a corporation in a tax break doesn't return any money to the community. And we need to put to rest this lie, this argument that somehow corporate tax breaks are creating jobs. There's nothing to indicate that we have no evidence that corporate tax breaks are indeed creating jobs.
Harper, it's my opinion that Harper got reelected because of the reputation he cultivated as a sound economic manager.
Yeah, Harper got reelected because, yes, I agree in part, he cultivated that image as being a sound economic manager, but it had nothing to do with him. All of the fundamentals that he talked about were well in place before he took office, mercifully. because it's those that carried us through carried us through the worst of the economic recession. But having said that, we've still got millions of Canadians that are out of work. We've still got millions of Canadians that are working double, triple jobs, trying to piece jobs together to make ends meet. So I don't think Harper. I think Harper offers no hope for Canadians and Canadian families as we look at the years that lie ahead.
And of course, tax giveaways to corporations hardly constitute good management at any rate.
No, not at all. I mean, the tax giveaways that aren't producing jobs. What companies are doing with tax giveaways is putting them in their pocket and giving to their shareholders, most of whom aren't even Canadian citizens.
Any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
No, just I'm looking forward to the fight that lies ahead. And I'm confident that women and men of goodwill will come together and we'll push back.
Very good. Good luck with your work.
Thank you very much.